You can now stream the forbidden documentary Occult Louisiana free on Tubi TV, which is available on Fire Stick, Roku, iOS, and Android. Hello friends, we are in a troubling time when it comes to misinformation. Here at Forbidden Knowledge News, I've always taken an unbiased, open-minded, and responsible approach to presenting my own theories, and the views of our guests do not reflect that of my own. This show is for entertainment purposes only, and any information presented during this show is a live-action role-play scenario. Conspiracies are definitely fun to discuss in a responsible way. All that being said, enjoy this episode. Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Chris Dorr. First, a couple of announcements. Of course, watch the Forbidden documentary, Occult Louisiana, available on Tubi and multiple streaming platforms. Get a Rokfin premium membership, rokfin.com/FKN+. Get access to our premium content. And always be sure to download the podcast episodes directly through Spreaker. We're booking guests for January. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me, forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Today I want to welcome Chris Dorr. She is an author with a degree in history. Her book, Guide to the Conspiracy, summarizes the hidden agendas of the economic and financial elite. Chris, welcome. How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you, Chris? Thank you for having me on.
Yes, I'm excellent. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm very much looking forward to this discussion today. We're going to talk about your book, Guide to the Conspiracy. And I've been doing this show for over 8 years now, looking into fringe topics for even longer. And I can honestly say that now I have more questions than any answers that I ever had. There's so much infiltration within our community these days. It's becoming extremely difficult to find reliable information, and social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok have now given rise to the 2-minute conspiracy reel that really contain no verifiable sources and have sensationalized content. But I think shows like mine that are still around that offer long-form intelligent discussions are really some of the best ways to sift through the BS that's out there. And I'm really looking forward to sharing your insights and getting into your research. But this is your first time on. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to write the book.
Thank you, Chris. Well, I'm a historian. Actually, I have a degree in history and a master in teaching. And well, I started studying. My question was who ran the world. So I start searching into big companies and who runs these big companies. And so I end up studying secret societies and many things. I mean, satanic rituals, also MK Ultra, chemtrails, HARP, and many things, many interviews, many books. And So that's why I started writing this book, because I wanted, actually, it's not, I don't want to offend anyone. It's just that I made it for dummies. You know what I mean? Like anyone should question the official story when you read this book. Even the more skeptical person can question the reality they live on. And it's true, there is so much misinformation out there, and it's difficult to really get to have the big picture of what's going on in the world. But if you study and research enough, you can have this big picture, you know.
Well, that's a good introduction. Let's start with the bigger picture and work our way back from there. Whenever I look back at the events that have unfolded over the past few years, there are more people aware that there's a fundamental problem with our ruling class and the ideologies that have been set forth and the way that our society functions based on those fundamental problems that we have. And it's brought us to where we're at today, but there have been some interesting events that have caused a crack in the foundation we were basing everything off of, and now we're starting to see through that crack, and it's a very interesting time. But there's also a reaction from this parasitic ruling class. And I mentioned in my intro earlier, what we're seeing from that is flooding of misinformation and infiltration within these communities that are just trying to find answers. So, like I said, it's a very difficult time to start to put everything together. But you've been doing this for a long time. I've been looking into this for a while, and I'd love to get your thoughts on what is unfolding, what is the bigger picture, and is there one top-down ruling class entity that is dictating everything, or are we really looking at different factions battling for control?
Well, actually, when you study the world and world history through many centuries, there are always a lot of factions in the world. I mean, but the big picture is there is a banking ruling class, basically, that is running the world economy, the World Bank, the Federal Reserve, and there are only a few families like the Morgans, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and stuff. And these families, which are few actually, control the economic system. And when you control the economic system, you can make the laws, actually, because you decide who you finance, who you promote. I mean, if a government is not aligned with your ideology, they can actually destroy this country or destroy this government. Like we can see many times with the CIA in Latin America or whatever, you know, that is mainstream media, is not a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's true there is infiltration because they want to control the narrative. But the problem is with internet, this narrative is not possible to be controlled because everyone has a voice. So I think that's why the system is starting to crack down at the moment. You know, because they cannot control anymore, really, the narrative.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they're attempting everything they can, but I do see that the collective will is always going to be more powerful, especially now that we're aware of a lot of this. A question that comes up often amongst conversations that I've had with others that are trying to figure things out is if these groups of people with all this power already have all the wealth on the entire planet, Is it really about more power and wealth, or is there a spiritual layer that we really need to understand before we can truly get a grasp of the bigger picture of this? Because it's hard to believe that it's just about material wealth and power, especially when you start looking into the deeper layers and you come up with things like MK Ultra and some of the ritualistic dark aspects and history behind some of these very powerful families and what they seem to be involved with these occult practices.
Yes. I mean, when you have all the money in the world because you print it,
Yeah.
actually, I think it's about control. It's about control. So MK Ultra, I think people believe it's just about controlling one person and make them. You can torture a person, so you divide the personality of this person, and so they become maybe whatever you want them to become actually. But mind control is also can be done globally, I mean,
Yeah.
through this fear they create about many things. Not only we could see it in the pandemic, but also in the economical crisis and many things. So I think it's about control. Also, a spiritually thing is very important because when you project with your mind something, you can make it happen. You know what I mean? We are very
Mm-hmm.
powerful, and I believe in God actually, because I believe in that we have a soul, and I don't believe that the things we see is the only reality. And maybe these people is very aware about these things, so they can also play with the spiritual realm in a way.
It does seem like they are trying to fundamentally alter our perception. And many believe it's because at the top they don't have the creative ability that those of us that are connected to Source or God do. And they have to use us to create the fear and the landscape that allows them to control us.
Yes, totally. I mean, I think they believe we are like sheep, and to they want us to keep being that way. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
is the way is in that way they can control us, and that's why it's all about control. It's about keeping the people ignorant so they won't rebel. And also I think the spiritual realm is very, very important. Meditation and all these things, and the source is very real.
Un-
I don't know. Maybe if we, I mean, I've been searching also into secret space program, and it seems I don't know because I don't have the proof, but there are many sources like astronauts that have seen UFOs, or even William Tompkins.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you know William
Oh, yeah.
Tompkins?
Yes, I do. Definitely.
Yes, so he was the designer of Apollo ships,
Mm-hmm.
and he says there is a base in the moon. I mean, the alien thing might be a possibility. I
Yeah.
want to believe it until I see it, but it may be a possibility.
Well, I think it ties into everything. All of these operations seem to be connected in some ways, and that's what I want to get to is your understanding of some of these fundamental operations that are controlling society based on your research. You mentioned MK Ultra. This is a huge one. What we're seeing now, especially with those that have eyes to see, are results of this MK Ultra program and the experimentation that was done in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and probably 80s, but it's now being implemented into our technology. There's layers to it. There's the pharmaceutical aspect probably has something to do with it, and the younger generations are targeted until the collective perception is altered to such a state where it's unrecognizable to the original conscious form that we incarnated with. And that's what it seems like they're trying to do on a mass scale, is implement these MK Ultra operations across the planet.
Yes, I mean, even with the assassination attempt on Trump, and the previous assassination of Kennedy, this is an MK Ultra operation to keep the people in fear and to show how far they can go to silence someone. So yes, MK Ultra, I mean, people should search about Tavistock Institute, which is an institute that is in England, Tavistock Institute, and because they create mind programs for the whole world. I mean, the societies, and not only one person, if not countries and stuff. And also about MK Ultra, of course, is being doing today, even today, because the official story about MK Ultra is that was a mind control experiment in the that end in the 60s. But actually, if you read the book of Thanks for the Memories of Bryce Taylor, or Transformation of America of Kathy O'Brien. I mean, you can see this program has been going on for longer than the 60s. And also is a worldwide operation. There are MK Ultras even in other countries, not only in the USA.
I'm very interested in hearing your research about the secret space program, because I've had plenty of guests that claim to be connected with this, plenty of researchers that have looked into this, and this is another one of those topics where the more I seem to learn, the more questions I have about it. It also seems to be in some ways connected to MK Ultra. People who claim to be in the program at varying levels, some just as low as being targeted individuals, subject to some kind of harassment, all the way up to people that claim to have off-planet operations, interact with aliens, fly UFOs, the most fantastic stories you've ever heard. Based on all of these interviews that I've done, and when I look back and try to get a bigger picture of everything, where I'm at now, and there's many others that research this that tend to agree, is it's possible that some of these people are being targeted as an advanced MK Ultra program where their consciousness is being altered and they are being put through these horrible things, and the trauma may trigger these out-of-body experiences, which then can be controlled by these dark entities that are facilitating this experiment on them. And many believe that what's really happening is they are traveling, in a sense, to different dimensions, but it is under a controlled state, and they may not actually be going off planet. They may just be having these altered states induced by drugs or trauma or any other type of technological means that they have nowadays to trigger these events. And there's others believe, this gets really deep, that what they're doing in these other realms whenever the out-of-body experience is triggered is they are essentially carrying out black ops operations, but that have effects in different dimensions and ultimately have effects in our reality. And this is so far out there, but it is one of the considerations that I have to look at just based on all the information that is out there. I'd love to get your thoughts on it, though.
Well, personally, I haven't seen a UFO, but I dreamt that I was that an alien came through my window once, and I was in panic, so in panic that I couldn't scream, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so another time that this was recently, I was dreaming, and I dreamt that there were aliens in the room, and I wanted to wake up, but I couldn't. And the thing is, well, I have a friend of mine that he's exposing chemtrails really hard. So he's a target individual actually, and he's facing persecution, but really, really hard every day. He said that it may be a CIA operation, that they implant the thoughts of the aliens when really it's them who is doing the experiments. I don't know if this is real.
Yeah.
But actually, I believe we cannot be the only species in the universe. Because it will be so sad. You know what I mean? Like, it must be, there are so many planets, so many stars. We cannot even count them. We cannot even count the galaxies of the universe. So, the Earth is a very beautiful planet. We are destroying it, but if we wouldn't, it will be so much amazing. It is already. And I believe the alien agenda is real. And because there are so many astronauts, in my book, I think I mentioned 10 astronauts that actually have seen UFOs. And you have this designer of the Apollo. You don't have to go to the alternative sources to find the alien encounters. You can go to the NASA astronauts and the people who work in these programs. And we have a say in Spanish that it says, when the river sounds, water flows. There is something there. And my favorite series when I was young was X-Files.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be an astronomer when I was younger, and I really love the space, and I believe we are not alone. And as there are good races, but it must be bad races too. So these bad races maybe are aligned with these people that they are called the Illuminati, or whatever you want to call them, the satanic elite, the cabal. They might be aligned with these people because there are so many sources that are saying the same. Is very worrying, the situation.
Well, not only that, I have to look at the actions of this parasitic ruling class and the ideologies and the darkest of dark things that you hear about them, and wonder how a human could be doing this. That's where I believe a lot of the concern comes in, that there's something non-human that may be calling the shots at the highest level, just because of the anti-human agendas that come out of it.
Yes, it might be because, also Benjamin Fulford, I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, I haven't had him on, but I'm familiar.
Well, I was living with him 3 months in Tokyo. Well, because my personal story is long, but anyway, I was living with him, And he says that the Vatican and sources in the Vatican and sources in the Black Sun Secret Society, and they told him that there is an alien race that is calling the shots, as you say.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I don't know, Kerry Cassidy.
Yeah,
I
I've
mean,
had Carrie on a couple of times.
yeah, she's amazing, and she has interviewed many, many, many people who is talking about the alien agenda.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a possibility. It might be a possibility they know more about the soul and reincarnation than we know, and they are not making it public.
Yeah.
I mean, scientifically, you can maybe prove it, and why not? You
Mm.
know.
It is very interesting the level of interest and the level of events that have been unfolding, especially surrounding UFOs and congressional hearings and all that. But like you said, I think we'll just have to see what comes out of it. But I want to go back to the ruling class and what we can look at based on what has always unfolded in our reality. There seems to be a level of power that is inaccessible to normal people like you and I. It seems like the only way to get past this certain level is to be compromised. It seems like there's a certain level of the entertainment industry, a certain level of politics that people like you and I would never get past. But there's a certain type of person, and usually they have psychotic tendencies that want to get into those levels of power. And from what I've heard, they have to participate in dark things in order to get there.
Yes, when I wanted to say just before we speak about the lead,
Uh-huh.
that Project Blue Beam,
Yeah.
which is a fake alien invasion, is very real,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be done nowadays with a holographic thing. But anyway, I wanted to say that about the dark things you have to make to enter the lead. That actually, while I was studying, researching all these things about MK Ultra and human trafficking and pedophilia in the lead,
Mm-hmm.
and all these dark, dark, horrible things, that it really traumatized me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so a friend of mine who had been a general secretary of the Communist Party here in Spain, that was a friend of mine from my teenagers, he said, he asked me to found a Masonic lodge.
Hmm.
I mean, he didn't say, "Do you want to be a Mason?" He said, "Do you want to found a Masonic lodge?"
Hmm.
And so I believe it was a way to silence me, maybe, or I don't know, because when you enter the club, you actually swear that you are not going to say anything that happens in the club.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing is, I think the satanic rituals that actually Bryce Taylor in Thanks for the Memories says that Kissinger and I don't remember who, maybe Rockefeller or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but Kissinger laughed about the satanic elite, but he says it was a useful method for control.
Mm.
Because when you record all these people raping a child or sacrificing someone in
Yeah.
a ritual, and you record it, you have these people in your pocket forever. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
if they do anything, you just say, okay, I have this recording of you. And anyway, it's very real because Ted Gunderson, who was FBI director for I don't know how many years, maybe 10 years, I don't remember. And he exposed the Franklin cover up, which
Mm-hmm.
was, I mean, a huge. investigation of people who did these satanic rituals and sacrifice of children. And of course, it's a very good way of control, as we were talking before about mind control. It's a very good way of control to make these people make atrocities, and so you record it and you have them forever in your payroll, you know?
Mm-hmm. Earlier, you mentioned chemtrails. I'd love to get your thoughts on the multi-layered purposes behind these high atmosphere spraying that they're doing. This is something that has been on myself and many others' radar for a long time, and still we don't seem to be able to look deep enough and do enough scientific studies on what's really happening here to have an understanding of it. There's always multiple purposes to all of this. I'd love to get your thoughts into what's going on there.
Well, actually, you know, in the Chinese history, this meant the art of war. So the thing is, he said that one of the things you have to do is to control the weather to gain a war. And so it's very useful to control the weather for many things. But there are international treaties about weather modification and not to use it as a weapon. But actually, you have news in the mainstream media saying that, for example, Iran says that Israel is stealing the clouds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like in the Olympics, the Chinese were making good weather happen.
Yeah.
So it will be a nice event. I mean, and so it's very real. I mean, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's so real, and also I think it's a weapon, and like any weapon, you can use it in a good way or in a bad way. You can use it to stop a tornado that comes, and so it doesn't create any catastrophe. But you can also use it to destroy an area, a country, a state, whatever. Maybe they are poisonous. As I don't know if they need the ingredients that are poison to control the weather, so they do it anyway. I don't know if they do it on purpose. They put these ingredients on purpose, the barium, the aluminium, on purpose, so they can kill us. I'm not sure. The thing is, I mean, it wouldn't be a problem if it was a public announcement about the use of weather modification techniques. The way, because in Spain we have this problem in Valencia that actually we have a destruction here because of the weather, and the government was fighting, and the people went there to help the population, and actually I think many people in Spain just woke up to the reality of the government because of this. And so it will be a good thing to stop these catastrophes, but in a way, any weapon is a dangerous weapon if the person that holds it is a psychopath, like the lead we have. So it's very a serious situation we are living.
From what I understand, they've completely ionized the sky, and it could act as some sort of projector if they wanted to deceive a very large area at the same time. it'd be quite easy to just use the ionized particulates in the sky to form some sort of false image that would cause mass panic. Because of the uptick in the UFOs for the past few years and how it keeps coming up in our mainstream, for years, UFOs and aliens, according to our government, never existed, and now they can't stop talking about it. So I have to look at that aspect of it, especially because we're being presented that UFOs do exist and they are a threat. Could it be that the next operation is some sort of false invasion?
Yes, maybe because I like Q. I like the Q military and the publications they were making. And actually, there is a Q account in Twitter which I follow, but I think there is a fake Q account, but actually has like 200,000 followers, so it's quite big. And this Q account is always talking about the UFO invasion, not Blue Beam, because that would be exposing the fake alien invasion. This is creating fear, and like the aliens are here and they're gonna invade us and stuff. And it's creating fear in people. I think Project Bluebeam is very real, and they can do that. And I think it might be the next chapter of the psychopathic episode.
Yeah. Let's talk about what's happening now. I want to get your insights into how everything has unfolded. What we've just experienced with this election was the strangest thing I've ever seen in politics in my entire life. There's no doubt that Trump has some extremely strange circumstances and events and energy surrounding him, and there has been all kinds of theories and conspiracies that come out that have theological implications around Trump and this election. Some believe that he's the Antichrist. Some believe that he's a savior of the world. So definitely a polarizing character. I don't do politics. I haven't been emotionally invested in any of that for a long time, although I do pay attention because the outcomes do affect us on an individual basis to some degree. But I think it's mostly theatrical. I think that whoever is in that position, it's because there's someone in a higher position that wanted that president there, and everything that unfolds is based on steering the collective in certain directions. And I think this is no different. This election is no different. Trump is just a very powerful character that they're using, and this is my opinion. And it may be a trap that we're headed in based on everything that I can look at and have no emotional attachment to and say, this doesn't look good, this doesn't look good, and the way things are coming together is pointing to that possibility. What do you think about that?
Well, I actually think Trump might be a good puppet, and he might be the controlled opposition, the controlled opposition. And yes, that is a possibility. But the thing is, it's true the assassination attempts might be staged, and so to create this aligning feeling to this person. But also, I believe behind the curtains there are many movements going on, and so if you and me, because you and me are against, or maybe against this elite of psychopaths, we don't like them, we don't want them to run the planet. Imagine if you are powerful, you have been facing harassment and you have been a target individual, but in a powerful position, because all the media, if you see the media, all the media is against Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And so if all the media is against Trump, something good is is doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I believe behind the curtains there are many powerful people also. There are people like you and me which are doing our job to expose the agenda, because I had I have my own YouTube account. I have my Facebook account had 113,000 followers and was banned recently,
Mm-hmm.
And so we can be very powerful. We can, because 113 people, 1,000 people, is like a small city, but not so small anymore. You know what I mean? So you
Mm-hmm.
can influence many people, and they don't like this, so they banned the page because you are exposing their elite agenda. So I
Mm-hmm.
think Trump might be doing something good, and he might be aligned with the good military to take these people down, because I believe maybe the only way is the military. I'm sorry, but my father was a military, he was a doctor. At the end, he was in the public service. He wasn't in the military anymore. He came um, to the public service and stuff. But the thing is, health service. I mean, but the thing is, the military can change things, because uh, the situation is really bad. These people are really psychopaths. They are destroying the planet in all around the world, not only in the USA, if
Mm-hmm.
not everywhere. So they have to be stopped. And you and me are against them, that we are maybe nobody, but we can even have thousands of followers, maybe even millions, if we are continuing this work for years and years and years. And so imagine a powerful people who is tired of this harassment and of this psychopathic elite. You
Mm.
know what I mean?
It would absolutely be incredible if there are powerful groups that align with our goals and what we're trying to do. You mentioned Q earlier. I never really got into the Q movement, although I paid attention to a lot of the information coming out. I think that there's a lot of very interesting information, and a lot of stuff has come true. I'm not sure if that was part of a greater operation or not, but I have to think that there are people who are not part of the system who have enough resources that may be starting to organize things on levels that people like yourself are not aware of, or maybe you are. I'd love to hear if you have any information about this, because all I can see are people on an individual basis, people that I talk to every day, and the work they're doing in their lives. And that's incredible enough. There's many people who are waking up and doing amazing things, starting their own media companies, doing their own broadcasting, making their own movies, starting their own businesses. And this is what we need, because if you look at how everything's unfolding in the mainstream matrix reality, those systems are slowly dying. People are slowly checking out of all of that. So I'm very optimistic about where we're headed individually and collectively, but I'd love to hear if you have any information about any powerful organized groups that may be trying to do something.
Well, when I was living with Benjamin Fulford, he's actually into the White Dragon Society,
Mm.
it's which is a group that is against this cabal, you know, and they are trying to end the cabal with other groups in the world, because the White Dragon Society basically is Asian society, but this powerful elite is everywhere. Is in Asia also, is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you read the last article of Benjamin Fulford, that if you put Benjamin Fulford in Google, the website appears, and you read the last article, there is a letter of the White Hats to the Asian secret societies asking them to join the forces to destroy the cabal. You know what I mean? Benjamin say if they don't do this, the White Hats are gonna go against the Asians cabal elite also. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think behind the curtains, many things are going on, and um, you just have to search for this information. And Q, I don't believe is quite a psyop. I mean, there is a page I follow in Facebook. I love it, and it's exposing the elite agenda. And I spoke with this guy when my Facebook page was censored,
Mm-hmm.
because I told them, because I used to share their posts and stuff, and I spoke with him, and he's saying that Trump is a psyop and Q is a psyop. And well, I'm not quite sure it's a psyop, because Q is exposing in his in there. I don't know if it's a group or whoever. Is exposing the satanic rituals really hard, and so it's strange that it's a psyop.
There are still key areas that I work with, that many in this space work with, that seem to still be under control of dark forces. I'm talking about the algorithms that we deal with every day, the censorship. People like yourself and myself are still being targeted very hard. Now, Trump hasn't been sworn in, so I understand that. But I think it's a good indicator, if we pay attention to how this unfolds, if there's going to be more censorship, if there's going to be more targeting, who's going to be targeted, and if the easiest way is if what he said previously is actually going to unfold. I have hopes. I would absolutely welcome all these positive changes that are being talked about, but we do have to wait and see. But I look at it as, like you said earlier, we're very powerful individually. We're even more powerful collectively. I think that we're starting to rely on ourselves more, and that's what is going to ultimately get us out of this. Just like I said earlier, it would be incredible if there are very powerful interests that are working against some of this negativity. Do you have any information about possibilities in the near future?
Well, what in this letter that actually in the website of Benjamin Fulford and and many other places, I read this proposal that when the cabal is over, it will be a jubilee, like kind of all the debt, pardon, forgiven.
Mm.
Not forever, but just in the world, for a moment, like stop all the debt and create, a new system. Because of course, what I'm afraid of is that maybe we stop the cabal and we put another cabal
Right.
in
Yeah.
place. That is even maybe the same or even worse than the other. You know what I mean?
That's the concerns I have
So
with Trump is they are throwing all these wonderful things out there to get into this position, but it's just going to be new boss, same as the old boss. I have hopes and I am optimistic, and I would never put it out there to discourage this man from doing things that could benefit us. I am just cautiously optimistic.
it's really difficult to trust. I mean, anyone these days,
Yeah.
even your closest friends. I mean, um, you know, you have to see what's unfolding, as you say, and then decide if you really trust or not trust this person. But the movements I see in the world, I mean, there are many people I think that is tired of this psychopathic elite and they don't want the planet to be destroyed. They want to visit other planets. They want to expand in the universe. They want another kind of humankind. No, not the way we are going through right now, which is really destructible.
What would be the best advice that you could give people right now that are just starting to look into some of these topics, just starting to become aware? Because it's a very difficult time to navigate through the information. Like we were talking about earlier, there's just a lot of bad information out there. What would you tell people that are first waking up to a lot of this information?
Well, actually, my book is a good start because I think I gather all the information. I put them in one book, just very easy to read and very short reading, so everyone can see all the aspects of the conspiracy, if you want to call them that way, or the big picture. And then you can search into the things I mentioned in my book really, really deep. But I mean, the only way is to research, read a lot of books, watch a lot of interviews, never stop researching for yourself. Don't believe anything just because someone that you love say. I mean, you have to research for yourself everything, not just the conspiracy, if not every aspect of knowledge. Because in history, for example, the more sources you have, the better. Not just one version of the story. For example, I even started reading the book of Mein Kampf of Hitler. Because he was a very powerful figure in the world, and I just wanted to read what he said, because you are reading all the time things that people are saying about Hitler, but you never read
Yeah.
Hitler, or you hear many things about Socrates, but you never read Socrates. And you have to go to the source and read that person, and then you decide what to think. I mean, of course, I read Hitler, and I'm not agree with many things
Right.
he's saying, but at least I can be in his mind for a second and understand a little bit this powerful figure of the history. It's the same, for example, Trump, because many people are against him, like because the media is against him. So you talk about someone about Trump, I mean the sheep, and they're all the time, no, he's horrible, he's stupid, I don't want to hear him. He's they even insult him. And it's like, why you insult someone that you don't even know really? And I'm telling them, you should watch a full a speech of Trump, like the 1 hour speech, and see what you think, because you and one friend of mine, one colleague in my workplace, he said, I don't want to hear him in the speech. I don't like this person. And it's like, you don't like this person, but you have never heard this person. What's going on?
Yeah.
So you always have to research for yourself and go to the source and and make your own conclusion, mm, your own conclusion, your own
Now,
mind.
being a historian, have you ever looked into alternate history as it relates to Tartaria, possible different timelines, alteration of calendars, advanced civilizations that may have been around a lot closer to our modern times than we believed? Have you looked into any of those alternative history theories?
Well, I have looked a bit, but not much, really. I cannot talk really deeply about all these things because no, but I'm sure our history books mm, are not true in many ways, because also, a book is written by a person that has its own opinion about one subject, and so you cannot trust completely what this person is saying. You always has to contrast the information. So I didn't study much about advanced civilizations and Atlanteans and all these things. Really no, but I'm sure there is more that meets the eye. Is the
Yeah.
expression?
Yeah, definitely.
Uh,
That seems to be the case for everything in our reality. Chris, thank you so
yes.
much. This is great information. Before we close out, is there any final messages that you'd like to leave the audience about anything we discussed so far?
Well, I want to say that we have to be very positive. Maybe even doing meditation to help the light workers, to protect the light workers, and also to connect with other light workers and to this. I mean, what I imagine many times is the light of the source coming to over all the light workers of the world, expanding that light, joining them together, and so destroying the darkness. I think visualizing all these things is very powerful, and just research, find your own truth, and be happy, be positive, never, never surrender to fear and mind control and negativity. Always love and peace and prosperity, and visualize those things in your life and in the world. I mean, we have to counterattack all this negative mind control that is everywhere all the time, 24 hours,
D-
and be positive.
Definitely. That's a great note to end on. Chris, thank you so much. Before we leave, let everyone know where they can find your book and any other content that you have.
Yes, 1 second, because I don't know exactly the exactly name of my blog. My blog is truthisoutnow.blogspot.com, and also you can find me in Facebook. Well, in my blog you can find my Facebook link, you can find my Twitter account, and you can find my YouTube channel, which I made a few interviews. I hope I made more because I stopped for a while to making interviews. My book is on
Oh,
Amazon
yeah.
also. The Conspiracy.
Excellent. Chris, thank you so much. I'll have all those links for everyone to access right in the description. Love to talk more in the future. And until next time, everyone, have a wonderful evening. We will talk again tomorrow. See you then. We live in an incredible age of information. More and more, we're discovering that we've been lied to and misled about much of our human history. Cory Hughes is providing profound revelations about World War I, World War II, the JFK assassination, Martin Luther King's assassination, and much, much more on his new Substack, Bloody History. Subscribe now for as little as $5 monthly. Just click that link right in the description to get started now and learn about our true history.